with Geisa Fernandes. Hey there! So glad you're back! This is the 8th episode of Comics and Jazz, your visual musical journey with Geisa Fernandes. Quick recap. The 7th episode discussed gender issues in jazz and comic books, focusing on the example of biographical graphic novels and the need for more authentic female character representations. Today, we propose a comparative reflection on how comics and jazz went from being marginalized forms of expression to becoming desirable collectibles. Ready, Jazz Cat? The changing of jazz from its humble origins to a cultural phenomenon associated with sophistication and elegance is a testament to the complex dynamics of cultural appropriation and reinterpretation. In the early 20th century, jazz was gaining popularity and recognition as a distinct musical genre. Born in the black communities of New Orleans, jazz drew upon diverse musical influences, including African rhythms, blues, and ragtime. Its infectious beats and improvisational nature quickly captured the hearts of music enthusiasts around the world, propelling it into the mainstream. Remember Adorno and the concept of high and low art? Well, rather than saying that jazz climbed the stairs, I prefer to say that jazz broke its way through the walls. Jazz became synonymous with freedom of expression and individuality, reflecting the cultural and social changes of the time. But it also challenged traditional musical conventions, paving the way for experimentation and innovation in the arts. As jazz diversified, it gave birth to various subgenres, from swing and bebop to fusion and Latin jazz. Demonstrating its versatility and adaptability across different cultural and geographical contexts. Its cultural significance also grew, attracting the attention of music enthusiasts, and over the time, the historical value and artistic merit of jazz recordings, memorabilia, and artifacts continue to captivate aficionados. The trajectory of jazz bears a striking resemblance to the journey of the comic art, aka the ninth art. In their early days, comic books faced significant challenges in being taken seriously as a form of artistic and literary expression. They were usually dismissed as mere entertainment, in the negative sense of the word, for children and adolescents, lacking the depth and complexity attributed to traditional forms of literature and conventional art. A notorious case of persecution of comics was that of the so-called Comics Code, a pivotal moment in the history of comic books, censorship, and regulation. The Comics Code Authority, CCA for short, was established in 1954 as a direct response to the growing unease surrounding the content portrayed in comic books during that time. A series of Senate hearings and the release of the book Seduction of the Innocent by psychiatrist Frederick Wertham sparkled a moral panic and heightened concerns about the potential negative impact of comic books on readers, particularly the youth. These events culminated in the implementation of the Comics Code Authority, which aimed to regulate and censor the content of comic books to ensure compliance with specified standards. This self-regulatory body was created by the Comics Magazine Association of America, and its purpose was to give guidance to publishers about the content of comic books. The CCA established a set of stringent guidelines that prohibited the portrayal of graphic violence, gore, and overtly sexual content in comic books. Publishers were required to submit their work to the CCA for approval, and only those publications that adhered to the guidelines were allowed to display the CCA seal of approval on their covers. Maybe you've seen this seal of approval already. Anyway, I will put a link to it in the description of the episode. Many retailers would only stock comic books that bore the CCA seal of approval. This meant that publishers had to comply with their regulations in order to reach a wide audience. However, over time, the CCA faced criticism for being overly restrictive and stifling creativity in the comic book industry. This led to a gradual decline of the CCA seal, and by the early 2000s, most major publishers had abandoned the CCA seal in favor of their own rating systems or no ratings at all. A key factor that contributed to the recognition of comic books as a legitimate art form was the emergence of critical and academic discourse that analyzed and celebrated the medium. Scholars and cultural critics delved into the thematic, aesthetic, and socio-cultural dimensions of the comic art, exploring their ability to address complex issues, conveying poignant narratives, and provide profound social commentary. University and educational institutions began incorporating comic studies into their curricula, offering courses that examined the history, theory, and cultural significance of this unique form of visual storytelling. This shift not only validated the artistic and literary merits of comic books, but also fostered a new generation of creators and comic art expert scholars. The shift of comic books and jazz from marginalized forms of expression into products that are symbols of consumption and status unfolds as a complex interplay of cultural influence and the ever-evolving dynamics of the cultural industry. It also provides valuable insights into the changing aspects of symbols of consumption and how the value of a product is the result of a social construction. It also prompts critical examinations of the forces at play in the commodification of art in contemporary society. You just heard the 8th episode of Comics and Jazz, your visual musical journey with Geisa Fernandes. Thank you for your company and stay tuned for the next episode. Bye! Comics and Jazz, your visual musical journey with Geisa Fernandes.